Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer. Chapter 7. I twisted my torso back and forth, examining it from every angle, as if it would disappear exactly in the right light. I ran my hands over the subtle bulge, but swerved by how rock hard it felt under my skin. Impossible, I said again, because bulge or no bulge, period or no period. There's definitely no period, though I'd never been late a day in my life. There was no way I could be pregnant. The only person I'd ever had sex with was a vampire, for crying out loud. The vampire, who was still frozen on the floor with no sign of ever moving again. So there had to be some other explanation then. Something wrong with me. A strange South American disease with all signs of pregnancy, only accelerated. Then I remembered something. A morning of internet research that seemed a lifetime ago. Sitting at the old desk in my room at Charlie's house, with a grey light glowing dully through the window, staring at my ancient wheezing computer, reading everly through a website called Vampires A to Z. It had been less than 24 hours since Jacob Black, trying to entertain me with the Quilliot legends he didn't believe in yet, had told me that Edward was a vampire. I scanned anxiously through the first entries on the site, which was dedicated to vampire myths around the world. The Filipino Donag, the Huru Estuary, the Romanian Vacalori, the Italian Sturgeon and Befinici, a legend actually based on my new father-in-law's early exploits to the Volturi, not that I knew anything like that at the time. I paid less and less attention as the stories had grown more and more implausible. I only remembered vague bits of the later entries. They seemed like little excuses, dreamed up to explain things like infant mortality rates and indefinitely. No, honey, I'm not having an affair. That sexy woman who saw sneaking out the house was an evil succubus. I'm lucky I escaped with my life. Of course, I knew with what I knew now about Tanya and her sisters, I accepted some of those excuses have been nothing but fact. That would be one for the ladies too. How can you accuse me of cheating on you just because you've come home from a 2-year sea voyage and I'm pregnant? That was the incubus. He hypnotised me with his mystical vampire powers. That had been the part of the definition of the incubus, the ability to father children with his hapless prey. I shook my head, dazed. But I thought of Esme, especially Rosalie. Vampires couldn't have children. If it was possible, Rosalie would have found a way by now. The incubus myth was nothing but a fable. Except that, well, there was a difference. Of course, Rosalie could not conceive a child, because she was frozen in a state in which she passed from human to inhuman, totally unchanging, and human women's bodies had to change to bear children. The constant change of a monthly cycle for one thing, and the bigger changes needed to accommodate a growing child. Rosalie's body couldn't change. But mine could. Mine did. I touched the bump on my stomach that had not been there yesterday, and human, well, they pretty much stayed the same from puberty to death. I remembered a random bit of trivia gleaned from those who knows where. Charlie Chaplin was in his 70s when he fathered his youngest child. Men had no such thing as childbearing years or cycles of fertility. Of course, how did anyone know if vampire men could father children when their partners were not able? What vampire on earth would have had the restraint necessary to test the theory with a human woman, or the inclination? I could only think of one. Part of my head was sorting through facts and memory and speculation, while the other half, the part that controlled the ability to move even the smallest muscles, was stand beyond the capacity for normal operations. I couldn't move my lips to speak, though I wanted to ask Edward to please explain to me what was going on. I needed to go back to where he sat, to touch him, but my body wouldn't follow instructions. I could only stare at my shocked eyes in the mirror, my fingers gingerly pressed against the swelling on my torso. And then, like in my vivid nightmare last night, the scene abruptly transformed. Everything I saw in the mirror looked completely different, and nothing was actually different. What happened to actually change everything that was soft? A little nudge bumped my hand from inside my body. In the same moment, Edward's phone rang, shrill and demanding. Neither of us moved. It rang again and again. I tried to tune it out while I pressed my fingers to my stomach, waiting. In my mirror, my expression was no longer bewildered, it was wondering now. I barely noticed when the silent tears started streaming down my cheeks. The phone kept ringing. I wished Edward would answer it. I was having a moment, possibly the biggest of my life. Ring, ring, ring. Finally, an noise broke through everything else. I got down on my knees next to Edward, found myself moving more carefully, 1,000 times more aware of the way each motion felt, and passed his pockets until I found the phone. I let him to thaw out and answer it himself, but he was perfectly still. I recognised the number and could easily guess why she was calling. "Hi, Alice," I said. My voice wasn't much better than before. I cleared my throat. "Bella? Bella, are you okay?" "Yeah, is Carlisle there?" "He is. What's the problem?" "I'm not 100% sure." "Is Edward alright?" she asked warily. She called Carlisle's name away from the phone and then demanded, "Why didn't he pick up the phone?" Before I could answer her first question, "I'm not sure." "Bella, what's going on? I just saw—" "What did you see?" There was a silence. "Here's Carlisle," she finally said. It felt like ice water had been injected in my veins. If Alice had seen a vision of me with a green-eyed, angel-faced child in my arms, she would have answered me, wouldn't she? While I waited through the split seconds for Carl to speak, the vision I had imagined for Alice to dance between my lids, a tiny, beautiful little baby, even more beautiful than the boy in my dream, a tiny Edward in my arms, warmth shot through my veins, chasing the ice away. Bella, it's Carlisle. What's going on? I wasn't sure how to answer. Would he laugh at my conclusions, tell me I was crazy, or that I had another colourful dream? I'm a little worried about Edward. Can vampires go into shock? Has he been harmed? Carlisle's voice was suddenly urgent. No, I assured him. Just taken by surprise. I don't understand, Bella. I think that maybe I might be. I took a deep breath. Pregnant. As if to back me up, there was another tiny nudge in my abdomen. My hand flew to my stomach. After a long pause, Carl's medical training kicked in. When was the first day of your last menstrual cycle? 16 days before the wedding. I'd done the mental math thoroughly enough just before to be able to answer with certainty. How do you feel? Weird, I told him, and my voice broke. Another trickle of tears dribbled down my cheeks. Then this is going to sound crazy. Look, I know it's way too early for any of this. Maybe I am crazy. But I'm having bizarre dreams and eating all the time and crying and throwing up, and I swear something just moved inside me now. Edward's head snapped up. I sighed in relief. Edward held his hand out for the phone, his face white and hard. I think Edward wants to talk to you. Put him on, Carl said in a strained voice. Not entirely sure that Edward could talk, I put the phone into his outstretched hand. He pressed it to his ear. Is it possible? He whispered. He listened for a long time, staring blankly at nothing. And Bella? He asked. His arms wrapped around me as he spoke, pulling me close to his side. He listened for a second, what seemed like a long time, and then said, Yes, I will. He pulled the button away from his ear and pressed the end button. Right away he dialed a new number. What did Carlisle say? I said impatiently. Edward answered in a lifeless voice. He thinks you're pregnant. The words sent a warm shiver down my spine. The little nudge fluttered inside me. Who are you calling now? I asked as he put the phone back to his ear. The airport. We're going home.